Early one morning, a man was walking along the beach in peaceful solitude. Off in the distance, he saw a young boy, and he was picking things up and throwing them into the ocean. Curious, the man approached the boy and asked him what he was doing. The youth stopped momentarily to politely answer, "I'm throwing the starfish back into the ocean. The surf is up and the tide is going out, and if I don't throw them back, they'll die." The man regarded the young boy's words and gently replied, "Son, there are miles of beach and hundreds of starfish. You can't possibly make a difference." At that, the boy bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the ocean. It made a difference to that one.
While we were both in college at Trinity Baptist College, we're both involved in ministry and studying about the deaf. And we were talking about our future. We would want to adopt deaf children. As God opened a door for us to go to Germany as missionaries. And at that time, we had already had our first child, Deborah, and she was a hearing child. And while we were in Germany, we had our son. Our son was born. His name is Eric, and he's also hearing. While we were in Germany, we were researching about adopting deaf children there, and there were a lot of complications, and there were a lot of problems about having them live in a foreign country and moving them to the U.S. It was just, we felt like it wasn't going to work out.
I remember when John came home one day and said, maybe God wants us to go back to the United States, and we were disappointed. We really wanted to stay in Germany. And one of the thoughts that occurred to me is, if we do go back to the States, then maybe we could go ahead and start adopting children.
At that time, I had gone to Peru to preach, and I saw a deaf girl there. And they were saying this girl was ready for adoption. So I asked them about that girl, and they said that they had found her abandoned. So I asked them some more things about her, asked about her family, and what family was ready to adopt her. And I felt like I had a great connection with that girl, but a family had already planned to adopt.
So we decided that Saturday night that we weren't going to look for any more children. We weren't going to call. We weren't going to look on the internet anymore, that maybe we had been mistaken. And the following week, our friend Joe Kotvis came to visit from Peru. I went and talked to him and asked him, "Joe, how is your adoption going with the little girl?" Joe looked up at my husband and said, "We're not going to adopt the little girl from Peru. We want you and Tricia to adopt her."
It was a clear revelation from God. It was an answer to our prayers. And we're so excited, and we said yes. We felt that God was leading us to adopt that specific girl.
There were complications and things that we couldn't anticipate, and that adoption ended up taking 4 years. We took turns flying to Peru to spend time with Amanda, getting to know her. We sent her clothes, and we paid for her to have private tutoring. She had some physical problems, development problems as well. And so we would pay for physical therapy. We also paid for her to have speech therapy, and we paid for her to have extra tutoring after school. Then finally, the day came that our paperwork was all approved, and we got travel papers, and we could go to Peru to pick her up. Those 4 years were an emotional roller coaster, because we would be excited, there would be a new development, and we'd be excited, and then nothing would happen, and we'd be waiting. For 4 Christmases, we bought presents and put them under the tree, but there was no little girl to open them on Christmas morning. And year after year, and finally that last Christmas, we were so sure she would be home by Christmas. but she didn't make it. We saved those presents, and she opened them when we brought her home.
She looked like a very serious girl. She was very even-toned, melancholy. And when we came to meet her, to bring her home, it was like a completely different girl. She was so enthusiastic, so happy. Her personality was just complete changed, and she formed an instant bond with our family, and her name's Amanda, and we adopted her 2 years ago. And she's 10 years old now. Both Deborah and Eric fell in love with her.
I did not anticipate how much time I would want to spend with her. I just love having her part of our family.
I feel like there was never as much joy in our family until Amanda came home. I think we were always a happy family, but Amanda coming home brought a sense of satisfaction and excitement and joy that we just never had quite like that before.
After we got Amanda, we felt that Deborah and Eric were growing up, and Amanda was going to be in home alone, and we felt that she needed someone, so we were praying for God to show us someone that would bond with Amanda.
We went back to looking online at children, and one day I just felt like the Lord saying, I already showed you that this was not how I wanted to give you a child. The adoption agency was sending out an email nationwide looking for a family for this little boy. And it just seemed like that was right. It was a specific child, specific name from a specific person. And so I took it to John, and right away he said, call the agency. So we started talking with them about the possibility of adopting, and there were some other families that were interested in the same little boy. So we were not in a financial position to start a new adoption.
No, those other families were definitely more secure than we were at that time. But we felt like we were the best match. We were able to help the deaf child. That we know sign language, we have a heart, we have a burden from God, and it felt like it was a great match for our family.
There's a lot of paperwork. You're basically building your whole life on paper.
And they also do a background check of everyone that has lived in that house since the age of 18. And we had to get background checks from every state that we had lived in, every city. We had to do so many background checks. And after we had gotten all of that, they did fingerprints, and there's a lot of legal paperwork. And all of us were clean.
And then for China, we needed to have 3 letters of recommendation. And for the agency, they needed to have 5 letters of recommendation. But those letters were different in nature, and so that meant we had to have a total of 8 letters of recommendation.
Before we even sent the paperwork to China, it was about $7,000 that we had already spent. And that was just to get approval from the United States.
So we prayed that if God wanted us to adopt this little boy, then they would approve us. And we submitted all the paperwork, and there are requirements for how much money you have to have in the bank. It's probably easier to get a loan for a mortgage than it is to adopt a child. And there were a few areas where we just didn't have the full amount that they really wanted us to have. And so we talked with the agency, and we were just honest with them. And then one afternoon, they called us and said, we have approved your family. And we had had a lot of conversations about John's deafness and Amanda's deafness and the ability of all of our family to sign. We had talked about the educational resources that are in the community. That is a major concern to China, that there will be resources for the child. And so when they called us, our representative, Chris, said, well, I'm calling to give you our decision about David. And the way he said it I really expected the answer was going to be no. And he said, "We picked your family." There was no excitement in his voice. There was confusion in his voice. And then I was confused. And I said, "You did?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "We're scratching our heads because we don't know how you're going to pay for it." He said, "On paper, you don't have enough money, but we believe that somehow this is going to work out. And everything that we looked at, we feel you are the best family for this little boy." He said, "The thing is, I think you're scratching your head too, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it." And I was just honest with him, and I said, "Chris, we are, but we've prayed that if God wanted us to adopt this little boy, that your agency would approve our family. And this was the first step. And if God led us to this first step, then he's going to lead us through all the rest of the steps." And Chris said, "I don't know how you're going to do it, but I believe you're going to do it." And we would like that to be a testimony to Chris. We would like him to see that our God is able to do the impossible. We know very little about his background. He has been in this children's home for 3 years. We do know that the home that he is in takes very good care of the children. And in the pictures that we have, he always looks well dressed and he always looks happy. And they describe him as a happy, friendly child who gets along well with other children.
He's not home yet, but when he comes, he has a bedroom at our house. And Mom and Dad have their room, and Deborah and I have our room. He has to stay in China now, though. It's a long time before he can come. Long, very long time. Mom and Dad are going to adopt him, and he's going to come on the plane. When he lands, Mom and Dad are going to be there, and he's going to walk out to Mom and Dad. We're going to all say hi to David. I'm going to teach him to play games. I'm going to watch videos and play video games with him. And we're going to play on the slide in the backyard and climb.
Hopefully David is coming home somewhere around April, which will also be right around his 7th birthday. John has a cousin who has adopted children.
Adopted too, from China.
And so David will have Chinese cousins that he will get to meet and know.
David, I haven't even met you yet, but I love you so much, and I can't wait for you to be here, and I want so much for you. I want you to have every opportunity, and I want you to have a wonderful life, and I want you to be a part of our family. I want to be the best sister I can for you.
We want David to know that we already love him, and we just can't wait for him to come home. We want him to have opportunities that maybe he wouldn't have been able to have in China. And we believe that God had a plan for our lives that included him, and that God has a plan for his life. We want him to know God through Jesus, and we want him to feel 100% wholly a part of our family. And he wasn't born to our family, but we believe that he's placed into our family by a God who loves him and wants his life to be wonderful.
And I think it'll be great for Amanda to have somebody close to her age. Next year I'll be gone, and Amanda will be almost like an only child. You know, she'll be being raised alone, and I think for her to have a sibling will be wonderful. And I think it'll be wonderful for him.
He also has 2 sisters and a brother who love him very much. And as a deaf person, he'll have a wonderful opportunity in America. He will have the opportunity to succeed. And we've been blessed so much in this country. And all of this started with our conversation that we had when we were engaged. just us being willing to do whatever God wants us, and for us to be excited about that, and we're just very excited to have him coming home.
And we do need help with the adoption. We don't have the money to be able to pay for it. If we had the money, we would just pay for adoption after adoption after adoption. If God gave us a big house, we'd move in and we'd just open our doors to all the children that we could fit in there and give them a life and a home and a family.
God uses people. So maybe God has touched some of your hearts and you'd like to be involved in our process. We'd love to have all of you involved and there to help us, because we need to work together. It should cost a total of $35,000. And God will provide what we need through people and their responses. So if you'd like to be a part of our process and a part of David's adoption, we would love to have you.
I'm done.